Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for being in here. I'm going to give it just a few minutes to
Look
make
what I
sure
got.
that
Wait, what?
I got everything down. We should have this starting here in just a second. I want to make sure that both kick off. Hey, Red Silver, good morning. How you doing? You will be driving and
Wix
listening. No worries
gives you
whatsoever. I appreciate you being in here. Thank you so much for being in here. Steve looking for silver. What's up, brother? I appreciate you. Jackalope Herdmaster's in the house. Me is in the house. Siren in the house. And then my pretty much stable partner in crime. Good morning, Eric. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you
I'm
today?
doing well. So for some reason, it has us this way instead of side by side. I'm not sure why it does that. Let's do this and then bring it back down. No, it's not going to do it. Oh well, it is what it is.
Yep.
So
I sound just as good underneath, anyways.
so my wife says. Um,
Nice.
I actually want this to change. I'm trying to figure out how to get this back because I don't want. There's too much open space on the screen. It's driving me crazy. Let me do a quick edit. Hold on.
Okay.
I want two there, and I want four there. Save, update layout. Bam, look at this. Okay, we're back. The other way, there's too much open space. This way, it's a little bit more whatever, and we can have a larger area.
Sure.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. No, not me. Hey, Jeff Davis, good morning. How you doing? Thanks for being in here. Hey, Sorcerer Stan, good morning. Thank you for being in here. Hey, Starika, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So we're going to kind of get right to this. Eric and I have been doing a little chit-chatting. The title of today's, if you look at it, was, basically bring the money inside. Protect the money. And hey, Kevin, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in and saying hi in the stream today. This is kind of in retrospect to my trip to Europe. However, we're back to numismatics. We're going to be talking about numismatics. We're going to be talking about the advent of things. But I want to talk again. You guys know me. You know I love history. You know I love to talk about certain things. And I found a lot of stuff out. Now, one thing you guys may not know about me is I'm a science. I actually love science. I'm a big fan of physics. I enjoy understanding the principles and things of that nature. And while I was in London, I got the opportunity to tour an area. And I'm going to share a little bit about this area with you, talk about some of the items that happened in this particular area, talk about some of the things that happened to advance numismatics, and just some of the really cool things about some of the people that actually impacted not only numismatics as the creation of coin, the development of security features and how to protect things like that, but also from the collectible standpoint and to protect things from like counterfeiting. So what in the world am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the Tower of London. Now, the Tower of London was built in the early the early 1100s or the 1000s, something like that. And it was utilized as a central meeting area, and then they had developed the wall and the moat around it. It was right next to the river, and they had an opportunity where they would open the gate, then they could bring in the water from the river, and then it would flood around the moat. It was a great protection area, great for commerce, great for trading, and it was an extremely good fortress area. A lot of people mistake the Tower of London, the actual castle, with the Tower Bridge. Now, the Tower Bridge and the Tower of London are different things. So the Tower Bridge is the really cool bridge with the two tall towers. That is not the Tower of London. A lot of people think that that is the Tower of London. It's not. That's the Tower Bridge. The London Bridge is another one that keeps falling down. It's fallen down 4 times. It'll probably fall down a 5th. But a lot of people think that the London Bridge is the Tower Bridge. It's not. So just kind of a little bit of a one-on-one type thing for you. All right, getting back into the numismatic side. So in 1272, well, let me go back a few years. In around the 16, hold on, let me take that back. 1272, Edward the First brought the mint, the place where they would generate and build the coins, inside the walls of the Tower of London. And he did this because of protection, right? Privacy. He wanted to make sure that people stopped stealing the silver. They wanted to make sure that they were not stealing and taking the hammers and the dies and creating their own coins, because counterfeit was rampant, right? Counterfeiting was rampant back in these times because they forged everything. And because they forged everything, it was easy to get a mold or steal a mold or something like that.
Sand cast it.
Yeah, sandcast to do whatever, and then replicate that. And the problem with the mint being outside is that the silver, the bronze, the copper, whatever, was easily stolen. And Edward the First was like, no more. I'm done with that. We're going to bring it in. We're going to put it inside the walls. We're going to protect ourselves. The patrons who work at the mint are actually going to live inside the castle walls. And they built a street right inside the outer wall, and just inside the inner wall, it's this little street where all the smithies and the developers and the designers and the family members of all the people who would do that would actually build inside this wall, inside this area, all lived in on Mint Street. And obviously you're between two towers, right? You're between, I should probably bring up a couple of photos real quick. Well, let me do that, and I'll pull one up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Unfortunately,
Now, are we to the point where Newton is working for the mint yet? Or
oh no, not even close.
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, we got a few minutes before that happens. What I want to do is I want to kind of give just a general overview of the mint. Now, I'm going to be releasing a video. It's already built. It's already released for next Wednesday. It's going to talk about this same thing, except it's going to be way truncated. It's going to be very specific. This is going to be more collaboration, show you kind of things, just generally talk about things, kind of give you some insight, ask questions, and as you guys kind of see things, whatever. The video, which is going to be truncated down to about 8 or 9 minutes, is already built. It's already put out there, and I'm going to be talking about the same things with a little bit different twists. Obviously, there's not any discussion in that particular thing because it's a video. So I wanted to do that here in the live. So I'm going to open up my Tower Street of London, and I want to show you what I'm talking about. And I apologize, I should have had this up a second ago. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. This is Mint Street. So if you can see this, this is, again, you see the cobblestone roads. Here's the actual inner wall of the Tower of London. And then this building area, these little areas right here with the little orange, is where the mint actually was. The mint is actually just a little bit closer this direction, pretty much where I took the picture from. But this is what they call Mint Street. And this is where the wealth of Britain was forged. This is where they created the coins that came from there. Now, at this point, there weren't any other mints. Other mints were created later, especially during the Great Recoinage Act of 1696. There were 4 or 5 other mints that were created. Now, the mints were more like our assay offices, where they were designed to bring stuff to, and then they would, trade you out. We'll talk about the Great Recoinage here in a few moments. But again, this was the area, and you see They actually have the signs. Of course, it's all signed now, and there's a museum there. But it's a really, really cool story that I wanted to share. So I wanted to share with you some of the history. Now, one of the reasons I want to share the history with you is because I learned some things about a man that I really respected um, in the world of physics. And in 1663, uh, Isaac Newton at the time, it wasn't Sir Isaac Newton, but Isaac Newton at the time, had put in or under King James II to be the warden of the mint. He wanted to kind of move towards uh, doing work with, physics, because I mean, think about all the things that Newton did, right? Um, Gravity. Now, the thing about gravity, the apple falling on his head is actually a myth. There's no proof, there's no evidence that the apple actually fell on his head. But he did actually observe an apple falling. And the question that he has was, why did it fall straight down? And because the earth is rotating, we know the earth is rotating, it's moving. Why didn't the apple fall at a slight angle? Why did it fall straight down? And he wanted to answer that questions. And so he wanted to go through, and of course, one question leads to another, which leads to the formation of theory. And then because he was so adept at mathematics, um, he created a formula that actually explained gravity. It talked about its mass, and it's 10 feet per second, and that's the force that it exerts. Any more than that, we would be sucked into the earth, and any less than that, we would float away. Um, and his theory about gravity led to other things. His three theories, the laws of motion, where if something's at rest, it stays at rest. Um, if something has a force, it's going to move in the nature of which that force was exerted. And the third law, which is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction in the opposite direction. So the amount of the amount of brain power this dude had was unreal. But something really cool happened. See, in the late 1600s, the late 1660s, somewhere in that area, Newton did something, and he wrote what was called the Principia Mathematica, and that was done in, I'm trying to remember what the year was. I think it's 1687. Now, this was his crowning achievement. Even today, it's known as the best physics book ever written, right? It is the premise, the understanding, his theories, the things that were there. Um, but at this point, he was already kind of wanting to work out of mathematics. He enjoyed physics and he enjoyed the creation. He enjoyed doing this, but he wanted to do something different. And during this time frame, there was a lot of issue, and many of you know this. Anybody in the science community understands. What's up, ATS? Stacking with Kraken. How you guys doing? Hope you all are well. I do apologize for not calling you guys in as you come in, but thank you guys for being channel members and for supporting the channel. The Catholic Church really oppressed science. And when you had a theory that kind of went against what the Catholic Church believed, it kind of was one of those things where they kind of shunned you. And under King James II, Sir Isaac Newton wanted to really kind of help combat the issue that they had with counterfeiting. Now, hey, Siappy Chappy, Nanu, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Thank you for being a member. I appreciate you. But he wanted to do something cool. Now, Eric and I were talking at the beginning, and one thing that was cool is, what did you find out, Eric, when you were looking at
it's a novel approach to counterfeiting, where in the previous days before, they would catch you and basically execute you, or punish you. He took the counterfeiters and interviewed them and actually took their ideas to modernize coinage to where it would be harder to counterfeit.
So
So he took a different approach from what was normally done at the time.
you want to hear something that's really cool? When the FBI or the CIA or the NSA or some other agency finds a counterfeiter, captures the counterfeiter, what do? Same thing with cyber, right? When you have a person who does a cyber attack, when you have somebody that does this kind of stuff, what do? Well, they hire them.
Yeah, they want to know about it, and then
They use them as
hell, there's
consultants,
a
right?
couple good counterfeiting videos on YouTube where the counterfeiters got no time because they explained how they did it.
Well, and again, but this is all kind of the brainchild of Sir Isaac Newton, right? The stuff that he did, he kind of turned uh, minting and the processing stuff. He kind of turned that world around a little bit. And instead, because at this time, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but at the time that all this was going on, to counterfeit or deface a coin, to scratch the coin of a king, or to do what we do with the hobo nickels, right? Where you would deface the face of the Indian and you would make it into a hobo, or you would turn the buffalo into two bears, a mama and a baby bear, or whatever. That was defacing the coin, and defacing the coin back in this time frame was treason, and treason was not met lightly. And so this was a approach that really kind of challenged that. And the person who kind of finally said that that was okay was William III. In about 1669, 1699, I think it was 1699. A lot of the advancements had already been put into place, and things like the giant screw press that he had brought a French designer in to actually create this and talk about how he could use force to exert a finer pressure. And but there were a lot of cool things that he did regarding counterfeiting. A lot of the stuff that we do in the counterfeiting realm, a lot of the stuff that we see anti-counterfeiting, all goes back to some of the original research that Isaac Newton did. Now, I
Yeah,
find this
reeded
extremely
edges, lettered edges, those
yeah,
are all
yeah,
actually
yeah.
anti-counterfeiting.
Yep, we're going to talk about all of that stuff. And the cool thing about this is growing up as a kid, being an astronomy nut, being a person who really liked looking at the stars and understanding things. And I love doing photography, looking at light. Hey, Dan McCumber, what's going on, bud? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you being in here. I know there's only a couple of you over on the portrait side, so want to make sure I acknowledge you there. Again, if you want to come over to the landscape side, just click on the link top and you can head on over to the landscape side. Or if you like it in portrait mode, stay there. But I always enjoyed like photography and light and understanding the balance, how temperature affects the warmth or the coolness of the photo. You look at I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. You may have to pull this up to get his name. But the guy who is during the same time as Newton, who I want to say it's Hawthorne, but it's not Hawthorne. The guy who is working with temperatures of light and stuck his thermometer off to the left side of the red, and the thermometer started to get hotter. Couldn't understand it, couldn't figure it out. And so what did they discover? Well, they understood that there must be something there. That was the discovery of infrared light, right? And so I always look at Sir Isaac Newton as a mathematician genius, a philosophy genius, a person who really was brilliant in the world of all things physics. But to find out what this dude did in my hobby to get my hobby to where it is, or our hobby, excuse me, not my hobby, but it was like, wow, that's really cool. And
It was Herschel.
say again?
The guy that discovered the temperature of
Herschel.
light is
Yeah.
named Herschel.
Herschel. Yeah. William Herschel. Thank you for pulling that up. I was like, I know it starts with an H, but it's not Hawthorne. Hey, what's up, Chuck Stacker? Good to see you, bud. The cool thing about science is that, again, science doesn't prove anything, it only disproves things. Um, and so being able to look at these things, what it allowed Newton to do in the numismatic world and for coin collecting is that he was able to utilize things kind of in a different fashion, a way that people hadn't thought about it before. Because the people who were creating these coins were smithers. They were
Yeah.
the ones
And
that
changing the
were,
rules in turn, how things were
yeah,
done.
and that's
Uh,
exactly, yeah. He was turning things on its head.
I mean, he got the king to allow his die makers to moonlight and to make dies for other entities. That way, their coins would be better and harder to duplicate with more detail as the engravers got better at creating the dies.
So real quick, I've got some people in chat. I don't know how many people are here. I'm not paying attention to it. I'm not focusing on it. But by a thumbs up, if you are considered a stacker, I want you to put your thumbs up. Either one, just put your thumbs up if you're considered more. Now, you can be a stacker or collector, but if you consider yourself more of a stacker, then I want you to put a thumbs up. If you're a numismatist and you collect and you study and you collect the hobby and you like the history, don't worry about putting your thumb up. I want to talk specifically to the stackers here. Sir
Yeah, because there's
Isaac
a part
Newton.
that's going to relate to stacking coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be something coming up here shortly regarding that. So if you're considered a stacker, I want you to make sure you put thumbs up because there is something really cool that Newton did. Now, some of it was accidental because of the approaches that he had made, the approaches and the things that he had done. So some of the things that had happened were kind of one of those, it kind of created something before it actually happened. So I think you're heading there. I think you've already pulled that up and looked at it. Do you want to take a stab at what I'm talking
You're
about?
talking about purity challenges to his coins.
Close, close. Out
Because I
of
know that
that, out of that came this. So let's go ahead and talk about the purity issue. Okay. One of the issues, uh, please, please tell Miss Everything that Frosty says howdy me, or my says welcome and good morning and all that stuff. So we have a number of stackers in here. All right. So when they talk about purity, when they talk about the concern about the silver, um, Newton was very in what's the word I'm looking at? Not instrumental. It's instrumental. I forgot a letter. He was instrumental in the developmental aspect of sterling, not actual pure silver like 999 fine or 90% or the 925. That level was one of these issues where the sterling coin actually was the brainchild. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was improved under Sir Isaac Newton. But Sir Isaac Newton, during the Great Recoinage of 1696, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but I'm going to jump ahead of myself and then jump back because I want the stackers to understand something about the standards that many of you wish we were back on. And that was the gold standard. We owe the gold standard to Sir Isaac Newton. Hey, Nick Molnar, what's going on? Thank you, bud, for being in here. It's good to see you. You and I need to talk. We keep saying we're going to do that. We never do. So we need to plan something. Email me if you will, Nick. Um, let's get that done. But again, Sir Isaac Newton basically put Britain on the gold standard 100 years before it would actually be the gold standard. And
yeah,
that
the gold
happened in,
standard was private before it went. I mean, there was a lot of private mints,
yeah,
and that's where the purity lawsuit came in to play.
right. And so there were a lot of things, but again, because of his dealings with silver. So what actually happened with the silver is he actually, because he wanted to reduce the silver content in the coin, one, it allowed for durability. It was harder to clip, right? They didn't bend as easy. They didn't get defaced as easy. They didn't have to bring them in and melt them and smelt them and then recoin them because they wore down so quickly. So they wanted a metal that was a little bit more durable. But in doing that, what he inadvertently did was change the silver ratio to a point to where it was so low that gold became the one that they really wanted to base their standard on. Now, it was an unwritten thing between the 1700 time frame and then 18, I believe it was 1812 or 1816 when the second great recoinage occurred. You have to check the dates on that because I can't remember exactly what the date says. I think it's 1816,
Okay.
but I can't recall. But that's when it officially was adopted as the gold standard. But 100 years prior, because of dealing with the hey Wolf Metals, what's going on, bud? Because
It
of
was
dealing with that
1816.
1816. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. I knew it was one of the two. I just couldn't remember which one. But because of his working with silver and the coins and trying to get things done, inadvertently, he had set Britain on a gold standard 100 years before it was officially adopted. And it was officially adopted in that second great recoinage. But during this time frame, we're talking 1696, there were a lot of things that happened. Now, a lot of his influence with the regent of the time, King James, King Edward, or not King Edward, King William, and some of the people that would come afterwards. Because remember, Newton lived an extraordinarily long life. This is another thing that Eric and I were talking about before he came up. So, Eric, how long was Newton alive for? How old was he when he died?
Well, I think he was 78, 76.
And the
He
average life
was, let's see,
expectancy during that time frame was
54
44
plus
to 46.
27. It was 81.
So you're talking he doubled the life expectancy of your average person during that time frame. Pretty impressive. Not only was he extremely extremely healthy, apparently, he took care of himself, but the knowledge that this man had was just unreal. Like I, I'm still taken back to look at one of my physics heroes and understand that he's actually kind of like a numismatic hero to me as well.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
it's just cool because I don't think a lot of people. I mean, honestly, how many people in chat? Hey, Wolf Meadows is in both. um, how many people actually knew Sir Isaac Newton was engaged in coin making and minting and doing that kind of stuff prior to this? Um, I knew he had had work in counterfeiting, right? Nick, can't stay too long. Need to drive my daughter to the airport. No worries. Take care of yourself. Thank you for coming in. I always appreciate you stopping in. Make sure you smash that thumbs up before you go. I do appreciate you, Nick. Thank you a ton. Yeah, see, this is the thing. A lot of smart people didn't know that Isaac Newton had anything to do with coins, and it's not.
And stacking, actually. I mean,
And
indirectly,
stacking. Yeah, and so
because in the trial of Pix, he was accused of under milling gold.
right, yeah, and it didn't happen. He was accused of it mainly
Right. His
because
test sample was too high in content. And then they ended up bringing back the old test sample and it matched.
Michael Stacking, please turn your volume up. Okay, hold on just a moment. I will do that.
I guess they made a new test plate in 1707, and that plate contained too high a quality gold, which made his gold seem like it was under uh, it was underneath the quality that was supposed to be manufactured by the mint. So then they ended up going back to a test plate from 1688. And it proved he ended up having to prove because it was the court found him guilty. of manufacturing under quality gold. And so he had to prove that it was the test sample that was bad, not his samples.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but that was honestly, it was a clerical error in the creation of the second plate. It wasn't.
Well, that and the people that were competing against him were actual basically gold miners that he was taking. He was inserting the government into their business, and that was like I think it's called the Goldsmith Company or something like that.
That I don't know. I don't have the insight
Let's
on
see. Let
that
me
one.
read it. It is called Goldsmith's Company.
So
They were the
check.
one who brought the lawsuit. It became the trial of picks.
Yeah, let me know if that volume is a little bit better. I did turn my gain up a little bit. Um, it should be better. If it's not, because I'm hearing it back on my end loud and clear. Um, how's it coming across on your end, Eric?
It sounds good here.
Is anybody else having issues with? Is it hearing Eric or is it hearing me? Because if it's hearing me, it's probably on your end. Because my gain is, I'm in the red on my end. I can turn it up a notch, but I am in. Let me know if that's better. Is that any better? I did turn it up a little bit higher. Um, sounds good for both and my phone. Okay, good. It's echoing on me. Is anybody else getting an echo? Eric's is great, mine isn't. Eric's is way louder than yours. Um,
Eric is too loud. Well, is this better? I'll just sit back.
well, I can do. Don't worry about where you're at. I can turn your volume down a little bit. Not a big deal. I may have you pretty hot.
Well, I did have a mic issue yesterday, so
Okay, well, I've turned him down, so is that a little bit more balanced? Let me know if that's a little bit more balanced. Hopefully, that's a little bit more balanced. I'm also going to change my microphone to on me. Okay, yes, that's better. Okay, so I did turn down Eric's speaker a little bit. So that's way better. Okay, good. Yeah, Eric was coming in hot. So I've adjusted that. Thanks for letting me know, folks. I do appreciate it. That's an easy fix. We did find out, and I've got to find out what's happening. But my auto tech, the Logitech, excuse me, my input gain is auto adjusting itself. It shouldn't be doing that. So it goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. And every time I bring it up, it jumps back down. And so I've been trying to figure out why that's happening, but like I change my input gain and then it continues to drop. So I've got to find out why that's occurring. It's actually quite aggravating. Um, and I'm not sure why that's occurring. So, all right. Well, we'll see if that's any better. I'm going to leave that there. Hopefully, it quits adjusting, self adjusting. I'm going to turn that off. If it comes in and out, I'll continue to talk directly into the mic. But if for some reason it doesn't happen, then I can adjust this and hopefully it comes in and doesn't go in and out. I may have to change the way I have my cable set up. It could be some interference. But the thing is I haven't changed my audio. So, all right, well, let's get back on topic. So anyway, go ahead and go back to what you were talking about with the gold
with the trial of
sample.
picks,
Yeah,
you're talking
please.
about the trial. Yeah, the trial of picks was the Goldsmith Company. I believe it's 1702. Accused Newton in the mint of producing coins that were not up to the grade that the test plates were. And the test plates were made on different dates from 1282, 1477, 1688, and I think 1707. And he was found guilty in 1710 uh, over the quality of the mint's coinage. And it turned out that he argued and he prided himself so much in being accurate uh, that he found out that the 1707 test plate had, in fact, too much gold in it. So it made all his coins look below standard. And as a result, they retired that and uh, would take the test shavings off. If you look at, I wish, can you got a picture of the test plate, Frosty?
Give me just a second. I'll pull it up.
Yeah. And you can see where they like file off the edges. And he found out that the gold in the test plate in 1707 was way too pure. And then they returned to the 1688, which there's no known pictures of that one.
Um, what year was that test plate?
1707 is the one that's too pure.
So here is what I show. Is that what you're seeing?
That is the test plate from 1482. The test plate, or 1477, that's the 1477 test plate. Let me put the address I got a picture of in our chat.
That's weird. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I actually have that picture. I don't know why it wasn't showing up there. There you go.
But you can see that I'm assuming they did acid tests for the purity.
I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I understand a little bit about that. I haven't dug into the trial of picks, so I can't
But they
actually
found out that
speak
this
to it.
was like way too pure. Well, now it probably wouldn't be a problem because there's gold out there that is 4/9 fine. And I'm sure the gold back then had to be 90% or even probably even lower.
Yeah, it's like 88 0.8696 or something like that. I'm sure one of the stackers probably could pull that number up for you. For British gold, but yeah, it definitely wasn't 3/9 or 4/9 fine. This was probably more in relation to 3/9 fines than it would have been.
Most English coins minted after 1800 were 90%. Let's see if I can get something.
Yeah, I thought it was like 0.8696 or 8686 or something like that. I'll have to go back and look. Again, I'm not I'll be honest with you, I don't understand a lot of the gold. Tiger Stacker know more about that. That's his thing. But I wouldn't know about the purities. I do know a few of them, just because I have the coins and
It
know a
even
little bit
says
about
that
them. But
I just found one that said it could be as low as 88 and as high as 91 in 1700s coins. So, but
I
there,
thought it was
it
lower
wasn't
than
like it
that.
was now. There was a lot of inert uh, debris and minerals that they just couldn't get out because they didn't have the technology to
Yeah, they
purify
did have
it.
the refining process. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and again, a lot of the chemicals. Somebody time you out, perplexed. Somebody shouldn't have timed you out. I'll have to go back through and see who that was. Um, that's weird. Hopefully it was just on your end and not somebody didn't accidentally time you out. Um, I'll have to go back and look and see if that happened. I know that happens from time to time accidentally. So if it did happen, perplexed, it wasn't purposeful. Um,
So I'm assuming they would take some fines. You can see how this is like cut down and it looks like it's filed on the edges, and acid test it to get a reading, and then acid test the gold they're using for the coins to get a reading. That's what I'm assuming they're doing here. Because if you look at any of the test plates or the trial plates, they're all cut on any of the pictures that are available.
yeah, I don't know how they tested the gold. It'd be interesting to look and get information on that. I do know that all I'm aware about the trial of Pix is that because of his determination in his correctness, he used his theories and his understanding of mathematics and his calculations. It's the only reason that he basically didn't hang for it. So that's all I know about the trial of Pix. Other than that, I really don't know much about it. But looking back at kind of just that silver time frame and the whole gold standard, what I wanted to get the stackers to know is that basically the gold standard was the brainchild. It was inadvertent, but it was the creation by Sir Isaac Newton. And then again in 1816, when the second great recoinage occurred, that was
All right.
when
It was tested by weight, diameter, and composition of the coin by acid. So they were using acid to probably come up with a color or a reaction.
I'm sure they probably use specific gravity testing as well.
And Newton was involved in the development of the metallurgy to test gold.
Well, with it being Newton, I'm sure he understood the specific gravity test, and so I'm sure
Yeah.
that they probably did that. Well, let me see something.
Paula is at a coin show.
Yeah, Tulsa Coin
Heard they
Show's going
found
on
some
right
good
now.
stuff.
I could not make it because one, I had just came back from Europe, and number two, I was sick, and
Yeah.
so there was no way I could have made it
You
out
ended
there.
up being sick then, huh?
Oh, I ended up with COVID.
Really?
Yeah, it kicked my butt. I had all sorts of issues breathing. I got the vid. Yeah,
Ouch.
yeah, it was bad. I didn't
Well, you
feel
went to a
sick.
place your body's not used to being, so
I didn't feel sick though. I felt exhausted. Like I just was constantly felt like I've been run over by a truck, but I couldn't breathe. And my issue is I have lung issues anyway, um,
yeah.
because of my
Bad part of
military
working from
service and
home
lung
though.
damage and stuff. And so that was really bad. So that's how it affected me. But it sucked. It
I can
sucked.
imagine.
So
I
come
can
off a
imagine.
a 16-day trip, only get sick. It was horrible. All right, take care of yourself. Have a safe trip to the airport, and wish your daughter well for us. Hope she has safe travels. But anyway, yeah, it was really cool to kind of look and understand that um, the gold system and everything that he did related to both silver and gold had massive effects on the stuff that we see and view today, which is really cool because I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I thought it was quite quite interesting to go. My physics hero's a numismatic genius. It's awesome. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
one of the things though, and I kind of want to shift into one of Newton's um, personal charges. So for those of you who aren't aware, so a lot of folks, you guys had no idea that he was in charge of a mint and that he did coinage and he created all this stuff. I didn't know about it either. But one thing about the warden of the mint position was it was largely ceremonial. And he
That, and
actually,
he wasn't the boss.
yeah,
He was actually an underling.
yeah. So now, 3 years later, he would be put in that position
As
and
the
he would be
master,
over
right?
it. Yeah, he would be the master. But for 3 years, um, big love frostbite pain meds kicked in. I'm dozing. Oh, take care, shift. Hope you get feeling better. Hopefully you yeah, I hope hopefully you get feeling better. Get some rest, my friend. Wolf metals could be worse. Frosty, my wife had issues with breathing for 4 months until we got her some. Yeah, I still have issues now. I have lung issues because of damage to my lungs in military service. And so when it hit my lungs, it hit my lungs hard. I have
Ivermectin.
I
Isn't
have
that
all my stuff
Heartgard
here,
for?
medications, nebulizers, all that stuff. The problem is my nebulizer went out.
Isn't
Forge,
ivermectin Heartgard for dogs?
say again.
Ivermectin. He says he got her some ivermectin. It just seems to me that's dog medication.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
There's
I
a
just
lot of stuff.
recognize it.
That's a
Horse and cow dewormer. All right, so it is Heartgard.
well, you know how Viagra was discovered. It was actually a psychotic
Well, I,
medication. Uh, so,
you know, it's like an oyster. Who's the first one to do it?
yeah, whatever works, right? Oh, that's funny. She must have had worms. There you go.
Huh, it gets
That's
rid of
interesting.
COVID.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was, and I'm on Plaxavid, so not a big deal. But uh, it was quite cool to kind of learn this stuff. But what I want to do is I want to deviate just a little bit. Still talk about Sir Isaac Newton, but you guys know, okay, we're going to go frosty for a minute. We're going to go internal. You guys know that I love to talk and teach people about how to identify certain things. Now, I am not an expert when it comes to counterfeit. Okay.
Yes, me neither.
It's
Pennies,
not,
yes, not so much on anything else.
I tell people the only time I was an expert was when, my mom and dad did their thing. Um, Joe Cronin, okay. Jack Young, those guys are
Jack Young is
names,
amazing.
right? They are people who understand this really, really well. But I have a personal charge to kind of teach people because I see people all the time get fooled and taken. Fake silver, fake gold, fake coins. Um,
Yes. Facebook Marketplace,
yeah,
try to
it's
stay
it's
away from it.
horrible. So when I identify certain things and as I hear things and as new things come out, I try to do my best. I'm reading Joe's book right now to talk about the Henning nickel, talk about some more identification and give people some more information on things they can look for. Now the Henning nickel is kind of cool, like the Omega Man. You guys seen the Omega Man short? If you remember, I think you should have seen that. If not, you guys will see it later in the week. But I like learning about collectible counterfeits, right? And it's kind of an oxymoron. Um, but there are certain ones that people actually search and will spend good money for. But one of my pet peeves is people being taken when they're good, hardworking people trying to do what they think's right, and somebody comes in and just finagles them. Whether it be misadvertisement, whether it's actual about the coin itself, or whether it's talking about something like the gold coins, invest in gold coins, and then they show the presidential dollars, and they
Yes.
they try to get
Well, it
these
is
old
named, I mean,
people.
it is named the presidential gold dollar.
Yeah, and it's horrible because it's manganese, it's not gold. You get
Yeah.
people that think, "Oh my God, I found a gold coin," and it's not gold at all. It shouldn't even be. It should be illegal for that to be called gold. It should. They should take that out. It should be removed from the bill. It should be illegal for that to happen. The U.S. Mint Congress needs to change that. It opens too much on the door for fraud. It needs to change. And I can't stand counterfeits. I can't. I like teaching about them. I like teaching people things, showing people. People have sent me coins where I have taken and shown videos and talked about that stuff. But one thing that I was absolutely enamored by was finding out that Newton felt the same way. But so much so, we talked about this at the beginning, where he would interview people, he would interview the counterfeiters and talk about what happened and why it's there and what's going on and how this works and what happens and why it happens. And um but he would do the interview, right? It's like, what's the one, the movie To Catch a Thief? Um isn't that the movie about the forger, the check forger?
To Catch a Thief, maybe. Let me
I think it's
look.
called
I'm
To
not.
Catch a Thief. It's the one with the there's a couple of them, but the latest one was Leonardo DiCaprio. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
he was a he was a forger.
yeah. Okay, so the gentleman there also worked with the FBI and would teach people how to do stuff. Actually, became one of the reasons that the check identification and forging identification system became so well was because of his work as a forger.
It it
Right?
was actually called Catch Me If You Can, but
Catch
it
me if
is
you
a
can.
remake.
There you
If
go.
it was a remake of that.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where all of that stems from some of the stuff that Sir Isaac Newton did, which was revolutionary. Because again, to deface or counterfeit a coin was considered treason, and treason was met swiftly and harshly.
Yeah,
Um,
punishable by death.
yeah, and it wasn't punishable by, it was punishable through death.
Right.
It was just going to happen, and it happened quickly. So a lot of times you were guilty in these trials back in this time frame, and I loved listening to the yeoman
If
at the
if
tower
you
talk
sink,
about some of
you're
these
not
coins.
guilty.
Say again.
If you sink in the trough of justice, you're not guilty.
Yeah, and so it was fun talking to some of the, hey L, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Um, it was fun to listen to these yeomen. Now the yeomen, uh, they're a fascinating group of people. It is a really cool calling that they do. Of course, they dress up in their ceremonial outfits. They are a form of the service. Most of them are retired. I actually met a old U.S. sailor who was a yeoman in the British uh, service. Older gentleman, old retired chief, who was a yeoman. Just loved doing it. Loved to talk about the history and got to talk to him a little bit. And one of the things that I talked to him about was this, talking about the mint and stuff like that. And I was wearing my Navy shirt, and he was like, "Hey, you U.S. Navy?" And I said, "I am." And he's like, "Oh, well, I was prior Navy, and I do yeoman work. And thanks for the service. And what brought you over here? Yada yada yada." Of course, I start talking about coins because we're not too far. And he's like, "I'm about to give a presentation," and he talked about, you were guilty the moment you were accused. You had to be proven unguilty,
Innocent.
and
Yeah.
it just didn't happen. You were usually dead before any facts came out. Um, and so, for what Einstein was doing, or excuse me, Isaac Newton was doing, was kind of unheard of in
Yeah,
the
he
realms.
saved people from death.
Yeah, a lot. And but again,
I mean, not that they should have, I mean, it was treasonous, but he wanted their information. In turn, they helped the throne, which in turn probably led to leniency.
well,
Not that it did. I don't know if there's any recorded records of who died and who didn't, but I'm
there's
sure
there are quite a few. In the video, I talk about a couple of them. But there's one gentleman in particular that Isaac Newton just could not stand. And he had made a personal charge to identify um, who this person was and catch them and build a case against them. And I'm going to pull up his name, and because I absolutely forgot his name. So give me just a second. Let me pull that up. Uh, Come on. I had it up and then I closed the thing and now I can't find it again. Um, anyway, this guy was well known as a counterfeiter, as a trickster, as a fraudster, as a person who would take coins of the realm and deface them, and he would work with guards and stuff like that to get different dies. He was quite the artist himself, so he would actually create these dies. And Newton made it his charge to catch him. And so it was that charge. It was trying to catch this one particular counterfeiter in which he employed a lot of the tactics of interviewing other counterfeiters. So it wasn't just in general to understand, but it was using that scientific approach, right? The more information they have, you more
Yeah,
you
the
can
more
make an
data you have,
assessment.
the more information
Yeah.
you
And
can
so
create.
it was important for him, trying to remember this guy's name, and I cannot for the life of me remember his name. I have his photo here, but I don't have
William Challoner.
Schallner. William Schallner.
Challoner.
Thank you. Appreciate you pulling that up, Eric. Um, he was well known as a deviant, as a trickster, as a fraudster, as a counterfeiter. He did quite a few things, and they were trying to build a case against him. Yeah, thanks, Pedro. Um, but it was that desire to make an example of somebody. Now, he wasn't the only one. There were other people who were very well documented. There was actually a guard in the video that's going to be released on this coming Wednesday. I'm going to talk about a guard that actually implemented something and left with something like 19 kilograms of coinage. Was caught in France and hung. And they're documented, right? What happened, because they had great historians. They documented a lot of that stuff. Who went to trial, how they died. In some in some cases, how many attempts of killing them it took, because there were some botched beheadings, and there were some botched hangings and things of that nature. So some people had to go multiple times before they actually died. So there's a lot of fun stories
Yeah,
about that kind of stuff.
Challoner did. He ended up knowing high ups in the crown, and the first attempt that Newton did to prosecute him failed. He ended up being acquitted.
Yeah, and Newton hated him.
Yeah,
He
and then he
hated what he
was
stood
found
for.
guilty again in 99, and he was hung, and then he was drawn and quartered after he was hung.
Yeah, because they wanted to make sure he didn't come back.
Yeah.
Um, but again, you have to realize that at this time, treason was severe, right? I mean, it just you couldn't have treason even today. Um, even in the U.S., treason is punishable by death,
I
right?
don't think anybody's been put to death from treason since the Rosenbergs, though, have
But it's
they?
still there.
Right.
It's still part of the Constitution. It's still what it is. Now, does it happen? Can it happen? Yes. Does it happen? It hasn't happened for a long time. But again, you're talking about medieval time frames, and
If
it
it
wasn't
happens, people wouldn't do it.
it wasn't well, but it wasn't innocent until proven guilty. You were
Right.
guilty. In many cases, you didn't even have to know what the hell was going on, and you were guilty. Um, so again, Sir Isaac Newton really had this thing about counterfeiting. Now, at the very beginning, Eric mentioned something. I'm going to show a couple images here. I'm going to kind of open this up because one of the items that Newton really had a hand in, and I'm going to pull this over here and I'm going to show this here, was the screw press. I'm going to try and make that a little bit bigger so you guys can see that. Now, the screw press that was created by a French engineer who was brought over by a couple different people. Now, one of them was obviously uh, William III. One of them obviously was Sir Isaac Newton, but there were other people within the walls of Cambridge and other philosophers who wanted to assist in creating something to help Newton combat counterfeit. Because one of the issues about the Great Recoinage, one of the major problems, the entire purpose of the Great Recoinage was to get as many of these clipped coins. Because remember, at this time, let me pull up some other photos really quick. I thought I still had that open, but apparently I closed it. Um, and I'm going to kind of go through and show you some of these photos. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about a clipped coin. Okay. So just so you guys kind of have a little bit of an understanding of what exactly I'm talking about. This number 3, this is a clipped coin. And what they would do is you see this coin here. So they would actually clip the coin. So there were three items on one of these old coins. No problem, vote for Pedro. Thanks for being in here. I appreciate it. There were three basic elements or three basic items on here. There was the outer edge of the forged coin that was hammered. And this is where you would have, throws a flag, OSHA violation. That stool is a trip hazard. Oh, there you go. I get you. I was like, what? Dude, you caught me off guard. Totally squirreled my ass. That was funny. All right. So there were three elements of a coin like this. So there was an outer edge, an outer element, an inner element, and then where the verbiage was, and then inside was where the high relief was. So here's another image that I want to share with you. And this is kind of when you were talking about what an unclipped coin looks like, what they would partially clip, and what a clipped coin was. Now, the reason that this was such a big deal was because this doesn't weigh the same as this. And so, what a coin, a florin or a pence or whatever it might have been, a pound or whatever, um, it didn't weigh what it should have weighed. So it actually wasn't worth the face value that was written on the coin. And so what would happen with a lot of the coins is the coins would be melted and sold in places like Amsterdam or Paris or some of these outlying nations. And they would sell the silver for the weight because they could get more money for the weight of the silver than they could for the actual face value. Hint, hint, wink, wink to all my stackers. Does that sound familiar? Yes, it does. We have that issue with bullion today where the face value, not bullion, the numismatic silver, like the gold eagles, silver eagles, and things like that, where the face value, the $100 face value of the coin, is far surpassed in the weight and the value of the gold itself, right? Well, they had that issue then, and they had this issue where they would cut this off and they would do the first one. So they would do it, and the coin still looked decent. If you saw it and you didn't know what it was, then you would still look like a normal coin. But then again, they would take it and they would cut it back even more to try and reduce the coin, and people would just basically clip, 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 and then they would actually end up making more money because they would be basically skimming off the top.
Now, do you think that had anything to do with the practice in Spanish with the real? They used to just take pieces of real and kind of cut pieces off to pay their bills.
So I think in some cases that aided to it. I think in a lot of cases it was more nefarious. Um,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
right. And so it wasn't. Have you guys ever seen the movie with Heath Ledger before he died, A Knight's Tale?
oh yeah.
Okay, so The Knight's Tale, I love it because it's a great example of what used to happen with gold, right? He won this gold jousting statue, and he clanked off part of it, hand it to somebody, and say, "Please fix my armor." And that's how transactions were done, right? And so when you're talking about the clipping of the real or the clipping of the silver, that kind of stuff happened, right? But the practices of that carried on. And a lot of the information, or excuse me, a lot of the practices went from being fair and equitable to not so equitable, especially for whoever the regent was at the time. So whether it was James, whether it was Edward, whether it was William, there were a lot of it. Oh my God, you have it on VHS. I have it saved on an old, what's the recording ones that we used to have? The cable boxes where you could record.
Oh God.
Oh my God, I just went blank. I would just TiVo. I just TiVo it. I have like 80 movies on an old one that I TiVoed and I still have it. It's off network, but I can plug it in and watch a movie if I want to. I never got rid of the box. I never turned it in. And the company that I had done it through was gone, so it didn't matter anyway. Um, but they used to take these clipped portions of the coin, and then again, obviously making it to where the value of the coin was no longer the value that it was supposed to be. Now, again, Eric, yes, it could have been because of the practice that they had back in the day with the real. That could have been where they learned that DVR. Saying, yeah,
But
there you go.
under the throne, it was still a punishable offense to deface a coin.
Yes, and so it was one of those things where you're still. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're counterfeiting, clipping, changing, defrauding, defacing, whatever it is. It was all treason. And the one thing that I will say about um, Sir Isaac Newton is he didn't want to fight the Catholic Church, but he was really good at understanding the importance and the levity of the regents. And so he worked really, really hard to ensure that integrity in everything he does was paramount. He liked to be a man of honor, he liked to be a man of integrity, and he couldn't stand people who used their position or their power or their prowess of again, like this guy who was stealing people and doing taking this money and feeding uh, counterfeiting and doing all this other stuff. Couldn't stand Charlemagne, right? Just absolutely couldn't stand him because of the ethos. And again, remind you that Newton was a philosopher, right? He did physics and philosophy and mathematics and numismatics and politics. I mean, he was a brilliant, brilliant man, and he couldn't stand people utilizing um, their position, their prowess, their understanding, or their relationships with people to defame, defraud other people. Again, this is why I really have a newfound love for Sir Isaac Newton because I have that same passion. I can't stand people taking their position, utilizing social media and that disinformation. I can't stand these channels that get different disinformation. I can't stand these channels that they they do it purposefully, and there's a mint that's out there, and I will not buy from them. I will not trade from them because they have utilized the term coin in a bar. They know it's a bar, but they use coin because it increases the amount of discussion because people say that's not a coin. And so it increases their um, uh, activity, right? Their engagement. So they do it. They purposefully give out minor information that's wrong so they get people to correct them so it increases their engagement. I think that's a tricky practice. Now, does it help? Does it gain them more money? Does it do that? Yeah, I'm sure it does, but I can't stand it. I have a moral and ethical value that I don't think that that's right. And he had very much the same. In fact, it happened with one of his theories when he was doing his Principias on the discovery in the mathematics of a formula where somebody came back and said, "Hey, you plagiarized that from me. And he's like, no, you only theorized it. You never proved it. But he even wrote him in saying, I don't want to argue with you. You're right. You did have the idea. And it was because of you that I took on this charge. So to pacify you and to keep you from making a continued ass of yourself, I'm going to give you credit for it. And in fact, that man never actually did anything with that theory. Um, Later on, that guy would go nuts and he would lose his marbles and things would happen and he would eventually fall out of favor and leave the physics community. But getting back to the OSHA concern here. Hi, thanks, Al. Appreciate you. Um, Happy Father's Day to all those varmints. I mean, dads, not varmints. I saw Starika's comment. Um, so, barring the OSHA concern over here in the bottom corner, um, what they would do is they would have four people, and actually they had from some of the information that I read and talking to this yeoman, they actually had a couple different ways of doing it. So they could have two people doing it, they could have four people doing it. But normally what he did is he had like 44-man teams and they were man teams. Women weren't usually allowed there because it was a man's profession. It was hot, it was sweaty, it was dangerous. And while they could be there, while a woman in that time frame could be there to support, they had to be a family member in order to do it. So they wouldn't take anybody else to be able to do that. So when they talk about, four men, it was actually four men that actually did this. Now, later on, women would actually do the smaller presses when they started working with hydraulics. And so they were included in minting a little bit later when the machines got smaller and the environment became a little less austere. But what they would do is they would have this person down here who all he had to do was basically make sure he didn't get his finger smashed. And then they would have four people walk around until it sustained enough pressure. And then they would release it and do this. But something happened in the development of these coins that actually led to it making harder to counterfeit. And one of those things, I'm going to show you this coin right here. This is a 1660, or excuse me, 1695, I believe, Britannia coin of Edward or of William. And so what you see here are those ridges, those denticles. Okay. And so we owe the rimmed coins, the edged coins, the denticles to the coin to Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton is actually the one who created this, and it's actually to prevent counterfeiting and to prevent the clipping of the coins. Now, I knew that they had done the denticles for this, but a lot of people that I've heard talk about it being 1792, the U.S. Mint, and some of the people that were engaged there, some of the mint directors who took this practice and utilized this. But this had happened 100 years before the U.S. Had even considered or had even become a nation. It was 100 years, like 80 years before the United States would even be recognized. But it would be another additional 20 years before the mint would be created in the United States. So this happened like basically 100 years before that. But we owe the ridges and the denticles on coins to Sir Isaac Newton. And again, it was done to prevent the clipping of the planchets, the reduction of the weight of the silver, and to reduce counterfeiting. Now, did counterfeiting stop because of this? No.
Got
However,
better.
in some cases, yeah, it made them a little bit more specific. But there is something specific to the denticles that is almost always a tell in a cast or tooled counterfeit. You know what that is, Eric?
What was the question again?
Okay. Sir Isaac Newton created the denticles and the reeded edges on coins. Okay, that was his brainchild,
Yes.
working with other people. But because of this advent, something happens on a majority of your counterfeit coins when it comes to your denticles or when it comes to that reeded edge, do you know what that item is? And it happens on almost every cast or tooled coin.
Well, it probably isn't. It would. I'm not sure, but the reading is very sharp on a minted coin. And I think it's actually done in two processes. I don't think it's done within the collar. It might be nowadays because I know the edge lettering is actually done in the collar now. Where when it first came out, it was not. They actually had a machine that lettered the edges of the coin before they were, or after they were struck.
So
So I'm not sure ultimately.
what you said is exactly right. So one of them is obviously when you're talking about a counterfeit coin, you're not going to have this sharp. If you guys want to take a guess, please guess. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this before I give the answer. So if you guys want to guess, go ahead and guess. Feel free to do so. If somebody comes up with the correct answer, I'll give something away. But there's something that happens to these. And as you stated before, in a struck coin, a mint struck coin, you have very clean, clear edges, very nice defined items.
Yeah,
Now
I
you
think they go through a rimmer at the mint to get the reeded edges.
yeah, so there's I believe it's two. I think there's
Yeah, they run them through a rimmer and then they strike them.
yeah, yeah, because the reeded edge is there before they actually strike
Right.
the
And
relief.
that
Yeah,
raises the edge of the coin too.
right, exactly. Um, and so, but when they did this, there's something that happens. Hey, 75 in pennies, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for coming in and supporting the channel. I definitely appreciate that. Um, but any more guesses before I give the answer? Hey, Mandy's Candy, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. I'm trying to watch two chats and do this, so if I miss you in chat, I'm not blowing you off. I'm just trying to do too much, and I'm not really focusing on chat right now, so I apologize. Um, but thank you to my mods who are saying hi to everybody and for doing all that. Siren, especially, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You guys, thanks for saying hi and having the conversation back and forth. I really do appreciate you all doing that. Um, a lot of people don't realize it is difficult to talk and teach and show and maintain chat. So, my mods, thank you so much for everything you do. I do appreciate you. So what happens is you get spikes on the edge of denticles. They're little spikes that run down, and they're usually tooling marks, little scratches from where they're trying to sharpen things up. And you'll get these little spikes on the denticles. It's actually something that happens. You see it a lot in Morgan dollars. You see it a lot in some of the other ones that have the reeded edge. You see it in the SLQs. You'll see the little spikes that come off of those particular items. Um, and so that's one of the things that is kind of like one of the items you look for. It's one of the elements you look for when you're looking at counterfeit coins. You look for those little spikes that come off the denticles. Now, just like die scratches and things like that, in many cases they could be worn down, so you might not see them very well. So it does take a little bit of familiarity. And sometimes Siren's laughing over here because I think she's probably the only person in the uh, portrait mode. But I appreciate her coming in and staying in there and watching in that mode. I do appreciate her. But again, it's another one of those advents that give us another item to tell and to be able to identify counterfeits. Now, Eric knows this probably way better than I do. There are a lot of different elements in a coin. Oh, Siren has a disco ball. um, there are a lot of different elements that are there on a coin. So you'll have spots or dents or raised marks or
Right.
scratches or
Chips, little everything.
yeah.
Because
So
dies deteriorate once they start striking. They don't stay new.
there's tons and tons and tons and tons of different things that happen. The problem with some of the older coins, and it kind of come full circle back into the silver and the content of the silver and how much silver was there and the purity of the silver in relation to that. in order, and again, this happens in US coinage. A great example of the changes in design elements and changes in structure. We talk about war nickels, we talk about buffalo nickels, type 1, type 2, where they changed it to type 1, type 2 of the SLQs because of the wearing of the dates, and the wearing of certain items prevented us from being able to see the dates or when a coin was made. So we change, we do design elements. These things continuously happen. They have throughout history, and they change things. And Sir Isaac Newton did a lot of that kind of stuff and helped us to understand some of the things that needed to change. One of the things in the silver content to make it more durable was the moving to the sterling, really adopting sterling, making sure that 9.2 fine was there because it holds the image better. It doesn't wear down as fast. And again, where the purity of the gold was 0.88, I think is what you said, between 0.88 and 0.91. The silver content, plus or minus, 2/10 or whatever it was 925. To this day, sterling silver is 925. Um,
925. That's correct.
and so we understand that we owe a lot of that to Sir Isaac Newton. So I wanted just to kind of take today and talk about some of the crazy advents, some of the things that he done, some of the technologies that we have. Now, again, I want to also do this. Now, this is one other thing that even though it's not his particular um, design, his item, you guys know the Canadian maple leaf, and you guys see the security features and the privy marks and things like that.
The English stuff
Yeah,
is got a lot of
yeah,
design. So does the Australian, if you think about it.
but it's all sovereign,
Yeah.
right? It's all sovereign. It all runs through, like London Bullion Exchange, Perth Exchange, but it's all sovereign. It's all related. They all have Queen Elizabeth or big
And
floppy ears.
and I think that their security is far better than the US Mint security.
uh, let's remove Read Edge, and that's gonna stop counterfeiting.
Yeah.
Foolish, foolish.
Well, the edge lettering actually is not a bad idea because edge lettering is very, very hard to put on.
No, no, no. Edge lettering is different from removing a single read on a
Right.
readed edge.
Right. Oh, you're talking about one missing, right?
Oh my god, I get the premise, but oh my god, that was dumb. It's not hard to remove that in a CAD.
And they experimented with privy marks.
Yeah.
It's very
Well,
easy to put something very complicated in a privy mark that a regular engraver cannot duplicate.
so I think again, a lot of this stuff we owe to lessons learned from Isaac Newton, right? We owe a lot of this technology, the ideas. Now, some of this stuff, we have had brilliant minds, people who create this and do the design elements. Technology has been our friend in many cases, it's been our foe in others. It's kind of the waxing and the waning. AI, same situation, right? We have some great information, we have great opportunities to utilize AI to help society, to help better our community. Hey, what's HVAC's in the house? What's going on, bud? Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. But AI can be used to dismantle and destroy and disrupt everything that we hold sacred and dear. And
And
again,
somebody will do it just because it's human nature to want to throw a wrench in something good.
well, yeah, and one of my favorite lines, and I'm not a big fan. I'm Marvel. I don't like DC. I'm not a big fan of DC. I don't mind DC. I have the Batarangs, and I have Superman and stuff like that. But I am a Marvel person. But in a Batman movie, there was a line, and he talked about a Burmese thief, and the Burmese thief would stole the crown jewels of the India or whatever it was. And as they were searching the thief, they found that in these little villages, kids would be wandering around with these rubies the size of grapefruits. And it wasn't the money that he was after. He just wanted to do it. And the line that I like about in that particular thing is there are people in the world who just want to see the world burn.
That's
They
right.
do it because they can. They
Yeah, my
do it
life is not good,
because
so I'm going to make everybody else's life not good.
yes, and I have known people like that in my life. Some really scary people who have done that and embodied just the pure epitome of evil. And it's not that they mean harm to anyone. They just want to do it. It's a vile obsession with some people. And so if you really want to counterfeit something, there are so much advances in technology that it can happen. So we need people like Sir Isaac Newton, and we need people like Jack Young, and we need people like Joe Cronin. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I am not putting Jack Young into the same camp as Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton was a genius beyond merit. The quantity of his contribution to society as a whole that has withstood the test of time is unrivaled in my book. You got people like Copernicus. You got people like
And
um,
Archimedes. Uh,
Einstein, Archimedes. You got
there,
Plato,
there's people
Aristotle,
throughout
Socrates.
history
Right?
that are very similar.
There are megaliths in the world of philosophy and science and religion. You got the what's it?
Look at Da Vinci. There's another one.
Oh man, you're talking to somebody who just walked around and looked at all these things in Europe and looked at Michelangelo da Vinci, Giovanni, Bertelli.
Yeah, well, Da Vinci, not just a great artist, he was brilliant.
Yeah,
Uh,
creative science,
yep.
mechanical development, architecture, design, invention. You look at some of the people like when they did the Palace of Versailles and the waterworks that they did and how they used steam and water pressure and elevation and gravity and the subsystems to make the fountains work. Um,
Well, that even in the Roman times, Archimedes, they used an Archimedes pump from the
yeah,
Greeks.
yeah. And well,
It just pumped water for no reason at all, basically.
in the Netherlands, the Archimedes screw, you see the big windmills, that was
Yep.
to pump water from one location into another, right? To help dry out some areas of the marshy areas that were there. And um, it just like there's so many brilliant people. So when I talk about counterfeiting and things like Jack Young and those, absolutely smart, and the stuff that he does for this community is second to none. Right? He really gets out there and teaches people how to do stuff. But the masters, and I really call them the masters. Um, there's only a couple hundred of them throughout history, honestly,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so they're very, very, very far and few between. But I wanted to take this morning and I wanted to, number one, continue to talk a little bit about the excursions that I had while in Europe, but get back into the numismatic realm and talk about Sir Isaac Newton, not just because he was a force in mathematics, not just because he was a force in politics and he was a force in physics, but because he actually framed and forged a way forward for us to understand and see coins in the way that we do today. A lot of the stuff that he implemented, 75 in pennies, baby, with the $5 super chat. Thank you so
Thank you,
much, my
75
friend.
and pennies.
I appreciate you. Tomorrow is Father's Day. I will be streaming because I don't think my family remembers what tomorrow is, but we'll
They
see.
remember.
Hey, you know what?
With,
No,
with
I don't. I don't think they do. I'll be honest with you. I don't think any. If I don't mention it, my wife probably knows. She may not remember, but if it's not mentioned, nothing will happen. I promise you. Do you know?
well,
Here's
nothing
here's
will
a fun
happen
fact. Hold on.
here.
I want to tell you a fun fact. Do you know that in the list of holidays, Father's Day is like number 20.
I
It
do.
comes it comes after Groundhog Day. It comes after Lincoln's birthday.
Well,
President's
that,
Day is
yeah.
celebrated more than Father's Day. So take that for what it is, dads. Okay. But again, remember, there is a difference between a dad and a father. Anybody can father a child, but it takes a man to be a dad. So, to all the dads out there, I tip my hat and I say thank you. Because again, anybody can be a father, but not everybody can be a dad. So, for the dads out there, happy Dad's Day. Anyway, what were you going to say, Eric?
Nothing. I can't say anything. Can't follow that up.
He's like, damn it, Frosty. Hey, Jack Gallman's in the house. What's going on, bud? Yeah, I have I would like to petition uh the government to change that to Happy Dad's Day. Uh Again,
You
anybody can be a
know,
father.
I don't get gifts or anything. I get a happy Father's Day. Uh, and I get peace and quiet. And ultimately that's what I want anyways.
I want to go have a nice lunch or a nice dinner and
Not,
hang out
yeah,
with my
but you
family.
can initiate that yourself.
But
You just go up to them and say, "Hey, I'm taking everybody out for Father's Day."
here's 100% honest. I enjoy getting gifts, just like the next person.
I do too, but not for Father's Day because being a father is a gift in itself.
You want to do something good for me on Father's Day? Wake up in the morning and mow the lawn.
There you
Edge
go.
it,
Perfect.
sweep the porch, the patio, go wash my car.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning, I do my stream, take my car to the car wash, wash the car, open it up, vacuum it, do a little detailing, right? Do some yard work. You know what? Tell your mom to sit down and clean the house, do the kitchen, pick up your stuff. Grab the vacuum and vacuum upstairs. Do something um, that just says thank you, right? That's really
You
what I
still
would
got
like
kids
to
in the
see.
house, right, Frosty?
Say again.
You still got kids in the house?
3.
Yikes. So, yeah, it's different. For me, my kids are all gone, so I'm lucky to get a phone call or a text message.
They
And
live here, and I'm
half
lucky
of
to
them
get a
will
phone
call
call or a
today.
text message.
Yeah. Half of them will call today and say, "I just don't want to forget Happy Father's Day." And
Yeah, I get that. It's like birthdays.
and they're all 1,000 miles away too, so
Yeah, but again, I just remind people that anybody can be a father, but not everybody can be a dad. So for the dads that are out there who raised their kids, their sons, their daughters, or even had a hand in raising somebody else's, um, that is noble, and it takes a lot, especially in today's society. It takes a lot to do so. And if you're somebody like me who has had to become a second part-time dad because of a dissolved marriage, it's a hard life to only be a part-time dad to your kids. So I understand the struggle. I wish you the best, and thank you for not giving up. Thank you for being the best that you can and doing what you can for your kids. So if you're one of those who, through divorce or separation, only gets to be a part-time dad, and again, my heart goes out to you because I fully understand that one.
I agree
Fortunately,
with Starika here. There's no higher honor than being called a dad. That's what I said. The
yep,
biggest gift you can get me for Father's Day is letting me be your father.
fact indeed, fact indeed. All right, folks. Well, if I can get one of my moderators to throw in this, which is Will's Treasures, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up real quick. He's going to be talking about different mail calls and stuff that he's got going on. So I'm going to go ahead and click and copy this. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. For the people that are in portrait mode, the one person or two that's over there, I am going to do that, but I am going to pin this. So if you go to the pin message, you should be able to do this afterwards, and you should be able to see that. So please go over and check out the Premiere Train. Please do me a favor, let Will and Matt and all them know that Frosty sent you. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Eric, thank you so much for being here. I always
Thank you for
appreciate you
having me.
coming up and for the conversation. I appreciate you pulling up information.
I'll try to be
Um,
better prepared next week.
Well, I'll give you my topic more than 15 minutes before go time.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, this is what I'm talking about today. Okay. Um, yeah. So, folks, moving forward, I'll kind of just let you guys know before I close out. What I'm going to be doing with my live streams is the videos that I release on Wednesday. Bleh, the prior live stream is going to be on that particular topic. It's going to be a discussion, a conversation. We're going to be going over these things. And then the
The
video
Saturday
that
live
comes
stream,
out,
right?
say again,
The Saturday live stream. The Sunday live stream's still going to be a free for
it's
all, right?
just going to be free for all. We talk about whatever the hell, show coins, look through stuff, uh, let you and Paula talk. I'll go make coffee and go out with Bifrost. Or actually, Bifrost is going to be on tomorrow.
All right.
She's going to do some drawing. We did another drawing video. We're going to speed it up and put that together. We did that last night. I'm going to build that and put that out. That's going to come out sometime next week. But I
Now, do you
think,
share it with this channel and her channel, right?
huh?
I see she's got a channel. When you do something like that, you're going to share it with your channel and her channel,
Yeah.
right?
So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start putting those on her channel,
Okay.
so that people go there to see those. Um, and we're going to make sure that we kind of continue to force that. So I'm going to be posting those. We're going to do that. I'll send her the information. She'll upload it, put the music to it, and do whatever. We'll be uploading them on Instagram and we'll be uploading them on Facebook. So I'm going to stop putting them on mine because I want people to start going to
Go to
hers.
her channel. Sure.
It's Bifrost Artworks. Um, and it should come up. I don't know what she changed it to. I can't remember, but it's there. She hasn't posted much lately. Um, they were doing finals and schools getting done, and then she was doing some stuff preparing, and she's getting a summer job where she's going to be working and volunteering at a dance studio with youth, little kids, teaching them, um, dance and stuff like that. So she's staying in the arts realm. She loves the arts. But so she's going to be posting a little bit less than she has been in the past. You're going to see a definite tail off the last couple months, but we're going to try and help her and make sure that we put some more information out there and get some stuff onto her channel so that she can keep people flowing across. All right, y'all. Well, be well, be blessed. Take care. Again, go check out Will's Treasure. It's in the stream. And I will see you guys over there. I'm going to go grab some coffee, go use the facilities, say hi to everyone. Thanks for coming in again. Eric, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. You all have a great day, and I will see you
All
tomorrow.
right, we'll see you later, man. Take care. All right, folks. Well, as always, thank you for coming in. I've enjoyed this topic. I've enjoyed hanging out with you. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate you. But really, more than that, if you'll do me a favor, hit that thumbs up and share this out. Again, stay tuned for the video that's coming out on Wednesday. Wednesday's the same topic. It's much more truncated. Make sure you do that. Share that video out. I'd like to see if I can get that to be like my other ones. The other thing is I've changed my slogan for the channel. I'm going to release that tomorrow. It's already up on my site. If you want to see it, go do that. I'm going to be putting that on my community page. But anyway, I changed the slogan. I think it more fits what my intent of the channel is. And I think you guys will like it. All right, folks, be well, be blessed. Take care. And you know what? I will see